KGRA Digital Broadcasting and Pop Culture Minefield presents Dangerous Military Nerds. Dangerous Military Nerds. They're just like regular nerds, only dangerous. And now, your hosts, Don Ecker and Gerry Kissell.
Tell you, Scott's uncle, man. Yeah, it's a good band. That is a good band. I like those guys. Tainted, although I don't like the word tainted. I don't know why, because all I hear is the word taint.
Tainted Love. That's one of my favorite songs.
That's actually a good song, dude. I like the original, and I like the one that came out in the 80s. They did a really good cover of that song. Was it Modern English? Is that Modern English that did that? I think that's who it was. But anyway, this is the G-rated warning, and later on I'll play the PG and then the R-rated versions just for fun. Just remember, folks.
Warning. The following program involves discussions between military veterans. Enjoy.
That's the clean one.
That's the clean one?
That's the clean one. Yes. And because it's written on there, but he doesn't say any naughty words there. Then there's the PG one. I'll go ahead and play it.
Warning. The following program involves discussions between military veterans. As such, it is almost guaranteed that there will be coarse language and crude subject matter. So if the words piss, fuck, cock, cunt, and shit offend you, this might not be the place for you. Otherwise, enjoy.
And that's PG-13.
At PG-13.
Yep. Because you're allowed to say those words at least once in PG-13. So, but this show is not for kids. I don't know why we're getting ganked for it. It's like, this isn't for kids. So why is language an issue? But I guess it is. I guess because people out there like Boosh McFadden complain about us. They write the FCC and YouTube going, they're naughty. I don't like their language. They're rabble-rousers.
I will tell you, whoever wrote the letter, they had never been in a foxhole with another person. Am I right, Don? Am I right, Gary?
Yeah, but
They've never been in a foxhole with another person.
Somebody stepped on their very own dick.
It happened.
Because
I did that once in high school.
We are going to examine the Easter offensive.
The East offensive, yeah.
No. Eater. They misspelled Easter. Put that back up.
Oh, in the
today's topic
banner. Spell it. Vietnam Eater. It does say that. Let me edit it.
No,
it's okay, Martin. Don't worry. We love you.
Dude, I just copied the title for the video.
Don't worry about it. It's probably misspelled somewhere else. So we'll survive.
Vietnam Eater offensive.
Yeah, in the middle of Vietnam, what the war was over was there was this really nice restaurant called the Vietnam Eatery. Really good.
Yeah.
Really
all
good.
You can have buffet.
And really good Vietnamese food, in which, you know, you can hear one guy going, man, that's crazy. There's no good food in Vietnam. And they're full of shit because I love Vietnamese food.
You ain't lived till you eating lots of Nook Mom. Oh, yeah.
One of the things, because we have I do believe we still have a Vietnamese restaurant here in Springfield. And I'll go there because I love their faux noodles, man. I love their, they have the chicken, they have fish. Oh, I love their noodles. They're almost clear. Whoa, how come she got to say the no word? Because she's from Vienna and it has a different meaning in Vienna. I thought you knew that, Boosh. When you say things with an accent, they don't notice it as much. Oh, wait, she typed it. Yeah, I don't know. She might get ganked.
Oh, I'm bulletproof then.
Yeah. You got to watch out. No, I tell you, Anima, watch out what you say, because I'm telling you, Bush is a prime example. He got ganked last week to where he couldn't write more than a couple of words. He was only allowed like 10 letters in a comment. So he was like posting comments like the little asthmatic kid from Malcolm in the Middle, where he'd be sitting there in a wheelchair and he'd go, I need you. He would take like forever to deliver his lines. It's funny as hell. If you've never watched Malcolm in the Middle, it's one of the funniest shows that came out of the 90s. I just love that show.
I'll have to check it out. I've never watched that show.
Yeah,
but I'll have to check it out.
Oh, the mom. She's a killer, boy.
She's gorgeous, man. But I loved her sassy, moxie. You know, she's just, oh my God, she was so funny. And one of my favorite moments from that show was the very pilot episode when she's in the kitchen with newspaper on the floor and starts taking clippers to his body hair. And the kids are eating breakfast while they're doing this in the kitchen. I was like, oh my God, somebody like, that's like something like right out of my family. I have 7 brothers and sisters. And just the insanity in our kitchen at breakfast time. That just cracked me up. I love that show. One of the other great moments from that, I don't know if you remember this one, Don. It's really one of my favorites. Something bad happened, and all you know is she comes home and she's yelling, "Oh my God!" And he bursts into the boy's room and he shuts the door behind him. He says, "Okay, one of you has to take the fall for me. I will give you $5 to take the fall for me." And Malcolm goes, "Make it 10. What is it? I can't tell you. You just have to take the blame." And she's screaming in the living room, "I cannot believe this. Oh my God." You don't even know what it is. And he goes, and Malcolm goes, "Okay, it's a deal." And he grabs Malcolm, opens the door. "I got the one who did it, honey." He walks out with them. It's the beginning of the show. You don't even know what the hell happened. I was losing.
Oh my God.
That. The insanity in the writing of that show. Oh God, brilliant. But Andy Morrow.
How many years was it on, Gary?
That was 7 years, I think.
7 years?
I'll do a quick check. Malcolm in the Middle. It was a hit, man. And that poor kid that played Malcolm.
Funny show.
6 seasons, 2000 to 06. And he's had strokes. He kept having these what are called TIAs. They're mini strokes.
Yep.
And he kept having them. And he did race car driving. I don't know if he's still doing that. He kind of gave up the acting thing and turned to that, but he kept having these like micro strokes. And he seems like a really nice guy.
He doesn't even remember being in the show.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Because of some of the brain damage, it was caused by the strokes. Mm-hmm. He has no memories of being on the show. He knows he's on the show and he knows the people, but he doesn't remember anything during the making of it. It killed part of his brain, his memory.
Buy Ecker a candle.
I think they're trying to tell you something, Don.
They're doing something. So I got, wait a minute, guys. Hold on. What is this? We have somebody popping in the chat. Who is this?
Oh, baby.
Don Ecker. Seriously, I really am.
Those sons of bitches.
AI.
I think that's AI, man. I don't think
AI.
That's really you.
Definitely AI.
Those sons of bitches. I want to get one with the Cylon voice for you.
That would be really cool.
Now it looks like you're going to tell scary stories.
Well, I can only
talk like this if you want.
Morgan Freeman with a Hispanic accent. It sounds sexy, but I still don't know what he's saying. So,
oh,
what?
Look at this.
Don Ecker.
Don Hacker.
So I'm really gonna I'm gonna make a new outro right at the end of the show, right before the credits start. It's gonna this show is brought to you by, and it's gonna cut to a Don's head like in the old Warner Brother Looney Tunes commercial ending, where his head's gonna be sticking out of the thing, and he's gonna go, "Those sons of bitches."
No,
Them sons of bitches. Sorry, I'm
Them
sorry.
sons of
Them
bitches.
sons of bitches. And then I'm going to cut to Bill, our other producer, and head of the radio station. I'm gonna have his face with big bug eyes. When he gets the big eyes, he's gonna go, "I'm doing a show, Ma."
That happens probably twice a week.
They need a show, and I keep telling them, you need to do a show, just you and your ma, where you yell at your ma and she just keeps coming in and interrupting you. I'm still doing the show, Ma. Hey, Ma, did you start the pork roast?
I like it. All of a sudden, he'll just stop and he'll go, Tycho, what the hell are you doing? Tycho, stop eating that! Ah, Tycho's eating the couch! You're like, what the hell is going on over there? Tycho's eating the couch! Ma!
No, we need to actually, you know what? I'm going to have you do the voice because you're doing it pretty good. You're doing a good impression of him. I'm going to do your voice and just do a series of different versions of him doing. I'm doing a show. Tycho, don't eat that.
Yeah, Tycho, don't eat that. What are you doing? Ma, I'm on the show, Ma!
Bill, for the record, I just work here, man.
I love him. He's a good guy.
He got sick as shit too. He went down to the show down in Roswell, the convention down there. Hopefully got some pay dirt out of that because I was hoping because Travis Walton was down there. I said, make contact with him because I would love to have him on our show, man. I love that dude. I've met him, and I liked him when I met him. I'm like, you're a cool dude.
Yeah, he did a good job down at Roswell. He did some great interviews and stuff that he's going to put on the channel.
Oh, that'll be great. I do know
but he does a very good job interviewing.
He got con crud, is what we call it. When you go to a convention and you get whatever popular virus is being passed around between people because for some reason they don't know how to cover the damn mouth or wash their fucking hands. Sorry. It's just gross.
Wash their what hands?
Their darned hands.
Their darned hands.
Because like when I was down at WizardCon in New Orleans, that was the biggest convention I'd ever been to.
WizardCon?
It was a big con. And it died.
WizardCon?
And then they brought it back. It's nationwide. And they brought it back and invited a bunch of artists like myself because I had that best-selling graphic novel back in 2012. And so they invited me as a guest. So I went down there as one of the guests of the convention. And I had so many military veterans and their families coming up and shaking my hand for doing the book. They were just loved the book. And I don't think we were halfway home, and I started going in the car driving back from New Orleans. And by the time we were home, man, I was down. I was down for a week with the con crud, and it's whatever popular virus is going around, and really people are just the worst. And that's why when I go to conventions, I always bring this lotion.
You got to now.
No, it's not lotion. It's hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
Because I love shaking hands. I really do. But I'm a germaphobe. I love shaking hands.
I know. I understand.
Problem is, we've been stuck indoors for 2 years. Now we're going out and we don't have any immunity. I mean, this year I'm catching everything under the sun. I went from COVID to sinusitis, and now I got RSV. I'm waiting for ABC and DCS or whatever else there is out there.
I'll tell you.
How's that genital herpes doing?
You
not too bad. Not too bad.
You need to start smoking Lucky Strikes.
Oh, I was about to say smoking crack.
Yeah, I think that'll really cure me.
I was about to go. Where are you going with this, Don? Where are you going? Oh, cigarettes. Okay.
Well, at my funeral, you could say, you know what? He was pretty fucking healthy. Oh, pretty healthy until he died.
If I get to speak at your funeral, if I survive, I swear to God, I will say this. All those rumors of the gay stuff in the Army, kind of true.
Well, they know it's not true because I was never in the Army. I was in the Marines.
Yeah. You know, the Marines who are looking for a few good men.
Oh, please, not nowadays, because that whole woke Marine stuff is
This is
killing
the new
me.
marching.
Oh.
I'm
No,
sachet.
they showed it the other day. It was yeah, I can't take it. I really can't.
Oh my God.
It was like, oh my God, please.
Was that guy that's working for the military? Was he Marine, Army, that had the dog face leather thing that he identifies as a dog or some shit?
I think Army
Army yeah.
General.
Dog face. Yeah, it makes sense.
What?
Yeah, it's a real
I-
thing. It's a real thing. I'll look it up. Army. It's a general, right, Martin?
Yeah, General.
And he looks like a dog.
It was
Oh,
just
he used a dog mask like for the
found it.
kinky.
It's so
He identifies himself as a dog.
It is so ridiculous, dude. It
I
is
don't
so
know.
ridiculous.
It's some sexual thing.
Is it that?
Yeah, it's a sexual fetish.
Because so
now called kinkiness.
It's called what?
They call a kink.
Oh,
Kinkiness.
Yeah,
Kinky.
yeah.
that is.
Bush wants to know if I'm always yelling. You're goddamn right I am.
Bush, wait until he gets into one of his rants. You got to sit back and eat popcorn. When he does his rants, it's a thing of beauty. It's an art form.
You know when that Don is giving one of his rants because the chat stops.
There it is.
Please tell me that's not a real.
Jesus God.
That's not a
almighty.
real colonel in the Army, is it?
That's what it was reported as when it came out, and I just shook my head.
You know,
Is that medical insignia?
No, wait, that might be a caduceus.
That's got to be Air Corps, some kind of thing, isn't it?
Well, he's got his wings on his chest, but on the lapel, it doesn't look like the caduceus. I don't know what that is. I don't know.
That looks like a propeller and wings.
I think this is fraudulent.
Yeah. If it's real, you might as well just tell the Chinese to come on over.
Yeah. I was just going to mention that. Bring your North Korean buddies and don't forget the Russians.
Unbelievable.
I'm looking it up right now to see what it says. Washington soldiers who wore bondage gear, dog masks, and sexually explicit photos. No. Yeah, they're saying that there's more that have done this and are being investigated by the Department of Defense. They are being he's a colonel. He's called Colonel Ravage. That just sounds fake.
Well, they'll probably all get speaking engagements at the next Democratic National Convention.
I remember the days when you had a piece of Irish lint. They call it Irish lint, a tag on your uniform.
Irish pennant.
You were out of uniform. Yeah. And nowadays they're wearing masks and stuff like that. I mean, Somebody put me in a different dimension because I must have woke up one morning and found myself on another planet because
Yep.
I cannot believe the stuff that's going on in the United States now. God help us.
It happened in the early 2000s, Chris. It happened when CERN turned on the super collider and we slid into another dimension. Yes, we did.
Oh,
Them sons of bitches over in CERN, they better stop playing with that thing. I'm telling you, this world, and it's not just the United States, but this world has gone right down the tubes. This has been unbelievable. Oh God.
Yep.
do you think they will accuse us of hate speech?
What's
Because
that?
do you think they will accuse us of hate speech because talking about the mask in a derogatory manner?
You know what? If you open up your mouth nowadays, it's either hate speech or anything else that negative. It doesn't matter anymore. You could say the sun is outside, and that's hate speech. You're against rain. It's climate change.
Yeah.
For a moment there, I thought you were going to say, if you open your mouth, I don't understand you. For real.
Well, you all saw what happened to Brandenburg.
Oh my God. But there's something wrong with that, John. I just want to briefly tell you. If he was red flagged, they would have gone to his house and picked up all his other guns. He would have had a knock at the door by either the state police or the FBI or ATF or somebody and says, hey, listen, you're red flagged. Until we get this straightened out, we take everything away. There's something else going on with that.
It's got to be, and I just found this Twitter, so I'm gonna go ahead and share that one. Here we go. Boom. This is one of the articles about it. Chris Cruz, real pictures. Is that what you want representing you in war? How can America be taken seriously with shit like this? It's true.
Yeah. Guys, nobody wants war.
I've often wondered what George Patton would say if he were still around today.
George Patton would be rolling over in his grave. He'd be holding his chest going,
Well, really, when you look at that time he was forced to apologize, is really the beginning of some of the problems we have today.
Oh, yeah.
I really do look at that, where the focus became worried what the media and popular thought was. Way before Twitter and the internet, in the 1940s, George Patton slapped a soldier for what he thought was cowardice, even though I thought it was, look, man, we've talked about this. 3 guys go into the same battle, and you got 3 different experiences from that same battle. One guy is like can manage, doesn't really get deeply affected. The other one has some problems, and the other one's like all foobar over it, because each person has their own psychological makeup. And yeah, I get it. That was really at play there in this situation. I don't know if this guy was really a coward or not. I wasn't there. I don't know. But he addressed it, and he slapped him and, basically told him to get his shit together. And then he had to apologize for it, and had to.
Well, now, come on. A flag officer, a general, striking an enlisted man. I don't care what.
Oh, no, it was inappropriate no matter what
the damn reason was. That was so inappropriate. And Patton got, I thought, and hey, look, there's nobody more pro-military.
He got a slap in the wrist as far as that goes, because if, like, I was afraid, remember, I struck a fellow soldier in front of a drill instructor during basic training, right in front of him, just knocked the shit out of him, and then threatened him, get up. And I thought, oh, I'm going to get kicked out. I'm going to get I'm I'm going to get Article 15, get court-martialed, and kicked out for conduct unbecoming and striking a fellow soldier. Because that's what you get hit with if you do it.
Yeah.
You know, and not even considering the other charges you can get for assault. Because then you got to deal with the legal charges of doing it. And so, yeah, absolutely. He was completely in the wrong for slapping him. I don't know if he was wrong in calling him out because I wasn't there, but you don't strike another soldier.
You know,
Officer.
I was called for guard duty when I was in basic training, okay? And I went down there, they handed me an M16, a magazine, and 3 bullets, okay? 3 live rounds to go on guard duty and a bayonet. We had a bayonet too.
If you can't hit him with these 3 rounds, stab him.
and I often wonder what in the hell would have happened as a basic trainee in basic training on guard duty if I would have shot something. Oh my God. You know, and I didn't even think about it at the time. Later, I thought about it. And I think that would have only been the beginning of the nightmare.
It would have. You know,
Oh
that
God.
brings up a story when you said the 3 rounds. You know, remember the Beirut bombing, Don? They had no rounds. They were put on guard duty and they were not had any ammo. There's stuff at the main entrance and stuff. They were told not to lock and load. They had no ammo, and that's how that Beirut bombing happened years ago.
Yeah,
went right through.
That reminds
now,
me.
at the same time, all right, the Russians had some kind of incursion by Islamic militants. And I think one of their people, maybe 2, were killed by Islamic militants. Now, this is before the Soviet Union collapsed. So what did the Russians do? You may remember this, Chris. They sent the KGB out, and they found 2 or 3 of these dudes from whatever that organization was that those militants came from, and they emasculated them and left the bodies lying there for everybody to take a look at.
Yeah,
That's
they
how
were
the
ruthless.
Russians did it.
They were ruthless. You know, years ago, the Spetsnaz, the KGB, they had their paramilitary groups, and these guys were just ruthless. Now they got the Wagner group is supposed to be very, very ruthless.
By the way, you brought it up. I wanted to show this. Dale Dye wrote a book called Outrage about the bombing of the Beirut barracks. And what? Look at that cover art. Who did that? Who did that beautiful artwork? That's a good artist right there.
It's a great artist.
Where's that finger? Where's that finger?
Where's the 30-round magazine?
No, it's 20.
I know.
But look where that finger is. I fired the first model. He said he was a military veteran. Came over to my house, and I gave him the M16, gave him the uniform to pose for me, and he kept sticking his finger into the trigger housing. I'm like, what are you doing? Stop doing that. I said, that's not your 16-year-old girlfriend. Knock it off, dude. That's creepy. But you can get this book. I can go ahead and share it real quick here. The link. This is a very, very
I
good
don't
book.
want no teenage queen. All
I just want
want's
my M16.
Oh my God.
There you go, guys. This is a great book by Dale Dye about the bombing of the Beirut barracks. In you know, it's a tragic story. Life lost, frustration with what was going on there. How
Over
to deal
200 Marines.
My cousin was there. My cousin was a Marine there. He was in a mortar crew there. Stories he told me were unbelievable.
It's just horrible. What is this? Pope says Marines with no live ammo is a travesty.
Yeah.
Hence, they were never agreed to it since the 1983. I concur with that thought. So I got to say hi to everybody real quick. I'm sorry, Chris. We got Anima Confusive here. Of course, we know who that is. The love of my life. Penny is Danny's mom. Keith, the movie geek, is in the chat. Monka Jubas, thank you. Come again. Boosh McFadden. Andy Morrow. Let's see. Pope Metallicus. Chanel also likes your impressions of Bill, by the way, Chris. Just letting you know. Parrothead is here. What's up, Parrothead? Scott Lewis is here. He's also in the living room. I heard him come home. And it's Courtney's Fellowship of Oddballs. Courtney is here. By the way, Courtney, I don't have my drums with me today, so you can't confuse me with your sheet music. I'm just telling you. I slurped it.
Are you okay? You sound like me.
I'm just going to watch him choke.
I can give you a cough drop. You want a cough drop?
I did exaggerated slurp and choke myself. So, yes, Kathleen M. Hager. Hi, how are you doing? She's on Facebook. Glad to meet you. Good to see you're here. Do we have anybody else on? Oh my God. No, I'm going to get sick. Watch what happens.
Dragon Roost? You have a Dragon Roost?
Dragon is here. Dragon, what's up, buddy? And that's it for Facebook right now. I'm assuming that's through the KGRA account, not ours, because I don't think we stream on our account anymore. I found that StreamYard and Facebook are not good friends. They're not good friends, so we have a lot of problems. What is this? Trying to claim $5 million in reparations? From whom? For what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I think he's talking about San Francisco, who wants to give all African Americans $5 million apiece for reparations.
There are black conservatives out there and black Democrats that have come out saying this is insane. You're wanting to get this money from people whose families never were a part of that.
But,
in fact, some of them come from families that fought against it.
But, Gary, what about the Chinese that were enslaved and terribly abused?
China
what
still
about
has
the Italians?
Slavery. China still uses slavery.
Yeah. And what about the Italians that were hung in places?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can talk about every culture in the United States. There was a period of time that they were misused. By there.
Many cultures were enslaved. Many cultures. And slaves for thousands of years. And
my background,
in the Middle East, it's still a practice in the Middle East.
My background is Irish and German. Okay.
Now, the Irish side likely came over here was indentured, because mine was.
Right.
The first members of my family,
the Germans
over Irish,
were hated and despised during the First World War.
Absolutely.
Now, that's something people don't talk about.
My grandfather said that in Chicago, that he saw firsthand those signs. I'm not going to repeat what the signs said, because they were pretty vulgar. Some of the signs, by today's standards, vulgar. At the time, they didn't consider it vulgar. But it was like no N-words, no dogs, and no Irish. And it made it clear. And the reason why is because so damn many Irish came over all at once. My family came over on the coffin ships. Okay. The Irish side of my family, the Germanic side of my family came over in the 1700s. And I have family that fought in the Revolutionary War as well as the Civil War and the War of 1812. But on the Irish side, we didn't come over until around 1840.
Well, my earliest Irish ancestor came over in about 1748 as an indentured servant. And he was indentured to a gunsmith in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. And he later, well, years later, became a gunsmith of quite a bit of renown. His name was Fay, F-A-Y. And Fay rifles, even today, are highly sought after collector items.
Nice.
George S. Fay.
If it were, by today's standards, what indentured servants would have been changed into is you were being sponsored to come over to the country. Someone was paying for you to be here, and so therefore you had to work for them. You're conscripted to work for them, doing whatever the F they wanted you to do. And there was a lot of abuses.
You see this?
Now, wait a minute. Is that an actual racket or is that a dream thing?
This is an electric bug zapper.
I like it. I like it already.
They were
An object designed to murder insects.
Oh, haven't you seen the shotgun that shots grains of salt?
Yeah, the salt. Yeah, I love that. Shoots out salt, kills those little flies and mosquitoes.
And I just want to connect what we were talking about with guys in the foxhole. And that's why the military has to be the way it is. It has to break you down, form you. So you look at that guy in the foxhole as the guy who's going to save your life and you're going to save his.
Yep.
You know that, Gary. You know that more than any of us, Don, that you didn't look at color of skin. You didn't look at any of that stuff. You looked at this guy, I'm protecting him and he's protecting me. And the military trained you. You know, the thing about this woke stuff in the military is when war is a terrible thing. It's horrific. But if you go to war, you want the meanest SOB right next to you that's gonna tear up everything in front of them. You know, you don't want somebody who's gonna go, oh my God, we got to go run away kind of deal. You know,
Yeah.
and I think the military, and as much as it gets a lot of criticism, breaks down the barriers and makes you all cohesive together. At least in the Marines, back in the 70s, they damn sure did that because you had to rely on each one.
Well, there was a push by the drill instructors themselves. Race was never to be brought up in conversation. If they heard you say anything about race of any kind, it didn't matter. You do
get
not
the shit
talk
kicked
about
out of you.
that. They will trash you, smoke your ass. And he says, I don't care what your religion. And I remember this speech he gave, Drill Sergeant Samuels. He was the coolest dude. And he says, I don't give a shit what your religion is, unless you're a Satanist. I will kick your ass. If I catch any of you devil worshiping here, I will wreck your world. But everybody else, I'm good with you. Drill Sergeant Samuels, man. Love hitting my neighbor with my bugs. What? Hitting my neighbor with my bug zapper?
Okay, that's a little different.
This is where the batteries go. Right in here. And then it goes.
I was about to say, wait a minute, was that a sex toy? Oh, it's the handle.
Oh, you got an evil mind, Gary.
I'm messed up, man.
You are
messed up sense of humor.
Only you would come up and say, "Hey, that's a sex toy."
I have ruined Anna. Ruined her, Brian. She has a filthy mind now. Everything gets twisted in her mind when you say things. She totally got into the whole phrasing thing with Archer. So now everything's phrasing with her and Martin both. Martin does the same thing. Phrasing, it's a game that I've always loved to play. And I've always loved to act stupid with my friends and pretend like I didn't understand what they said. And then I would ask in a very dumb way, you mean like a penis? They're like, no. Well, you said junk in a weird way. I didn't know what you meant. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Why would I say that? Of course I'm not. I'm talking about junk that you throw out. Oh. Well, you can throw out junk too the other way, but I guess it has a different meaning.
Oh, I tell you, the hero of this show are the two ladies. Your girlfriend and Chanel that produces it. I don't know how they put up with us.
I think Chanel is mused by stuff because I was pushing her buttons like the first day because I needed to know that she wasn't going to freak out on me. I might say, or Don might say. I'm like, we're
she's
really
a
crass. And she is awesome. She is really a lot of fun. I almost wish that the producers would just be on the show, because I like it when Bill pops in and talks. I really do get a kick out of that. But
he does a great job. He really does.
Bill was kind of a saving grace a few weeks ago. Vicky and I, and Vicky, of course, was the founder of UFO Magazine. We were asked by Renee Barnett, who's got a show on KGRA, and Renee at one point had been our managing editor at UFO Magazine. So we go back, a long time. And so during the show, we also had our former producer on, Jeff Floral. Great guy, great guy. And something happened. One of Renee's dogs went behind the computer desk and tore out, "Hey, Bush, toughen up."
What?
And one of the dogs knocked her cords out, and she just suddenly dropped. Okay.
Right.
So we're all sitting there wondering, well, what the hell are we gonna do now? And Bill jumped right in there, and then we finished up the show, had a hell of a good time. So yeah, he's a heck of a guy. Let me tell you.
I like him a lot. It's so
and
funny.
No, Bush, I was never in Korea. No, not that he mentioned that, but
just in case.
I hope we get Matt back here soon. I know that when that he goes through these spells where he'll just disappear for a while, but I love when he comes back. I had such a blast with him this last Saturday, hanging out with him again. And I told him, I said, Don really likes you. And he goes, well, I like Don. Oh my God. And but the thing with the stuff, and I know we've got to get into the Easter offensive here at some point. This is the thing. We do this stream of consciousness where we just start talking and having fun. And I think half this show is, just for us to have a little fun doing stuff. And then every once in a while, do some legitimate serious journalism or something.
Oh my God.
But I will tell you one thing, because I made the joke earlier about Marines and looking for a few good men in the Army. We're out during FTX, and this is a true story. We're sitting there. We got our, how shelter halves work. You got to do the buddy system, my battle buddy. And so we got our shelter half put up, and we're kind of sitting in there, and everybody's kind of trying to get inside the shelter half with us. It's a group of us, like a little powwow, sitting around a little freaking lantern. And we're talking and just swapping stories and having a good old time. And this new guy that had just joined us, and I saw him, and I looked at everybody and went, okay, whatever happens here, just go with whatever I say. Just go with whatever I say. Just play cool. And right when he got within earshot of me, I said, well, I don't know, man. That's a tough decision. And everybody's like, where's this going to go? And I looked at and said, hey, new guy, come here, man. You're a good person. You're new. Look, I'm going to explain something to you. There's these weird stories going around in the military where guys are waking up out in the field and their pants are down around their ankles and their butts are all Vaselined up and their butt hurts when they wake up. And they look over and they're thinking their battle buddy might have done something to them. And some of these guys have gone forward to report this stuff that's going on. Okay. They don't know if they're being drugged or what. Right. So the question is, these guys are getting labeled from other soldiers for being a little, bent, and for this happening to them. This is an assault, right? But they're afraid to report now. And it's like, if that happened to you, would you report it? And the guy just looked at me and goes, I don't know. Is it really bad? I went, yeah, it's bad. He goes, well, I don't know. I don't think I would. And I said, cool, I'll see you later. Nobody knew where I was going with this shit.
You have a warped mind, Gary.
You are seriously bent, dude.
You are
Yeah.
bent.
Yes.
Also, I discovered that a lot of, and I don't know if it's, I'm not going to say it's a generalization, but every black guy I've ever grew up with or knew in the military hates snakes. And we did an FTX in Louisiana. And I had to give everybody warnings about being in the swamps with black widow snakes. I said, don't go in the water and think the snakes are going to bite you. The odds are they'll bite you underwater before they'll bite you on the water or outside the water. They will. Moccasins, all of them, they bite underwater. And so we had this one kid that was freaked out by this. And so the next morning, I don't remember, did you guys have the fart sacks where it went all the way to your nose and you zip it up and you start holding the zipper right here? You kept your hand right on the zipper. It was quick release and you just out of your bag. But it was like that and it was pulled to a little hole. So all that was sticking out was his nose. And I caught a salamander. And I put it right over his nose. And I went, Teddy, don't move. But there's a what is it? A coral snake hanging right over your face right now. Slowly. And that guy peeked through. I saw his little eyeball. His head moved. He looked at, saw that thing, and he screamed and went from a laying position to a standing position, tearing his entire shelter half down, getting out of that thing, screaming, going, ah! dirty move. And I had a sergeant, too, that used to put salamanders in his mouth when the females would come by to get their chow. Right when they were walking by him, his name was Sergeant Janney. And he was Ranger, and he got shot in the elbow, so he couldn't go back to active duty. So he became a trainer in the military, an instructor. And he put the salamander in his mouth, and anytime a female would go walking by, he'd go, and they go, oh, because there'd be the salamander in his mouth, just sitting on his tongue, going, "Hey, how you doing?"
Yep.
FTX was fun. Weird shit always happened. I ate a bowl. I know you had to have done this, Don. We had so many bugs down there in Louisiana. There was no way of getting them off your food. And we got chili. And I ate all the bugs with my chili. I just kept mixing them in and eating them. Well, everybody else.
A little bit of protein is all. Just a little protein.
I'm like, what are you going to do? Fight them all night?
Now, I got a snake story.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Here we go.
Now, this actually, honest to God, happened. So we're down on a field training exercise. We were in Georgia. Okay. And as
another
we're getting
swampy
through,
place.
Oh, yeah. As we're getting through with everything, all right, we had I think a day or two, couple of days hang time before we shipped out. So we got picked, a bunch of us got picked for grounds maintenance to go in and chop down a bunch of tall grass and stuff around these ponds and other crap, which was right next to an officer's golf course. All right. So we're in there, we're chopping this grass and we're getting all this grass, and snakes were everywhere. Well, we ended up killing about a half a dozen snakes. And I'm not even sure what the hell they were. There was some water moccasins and some other crap. And our training sergeant at the time, well, several of them were real assholes. Okay. And most of them by that time had already been to Nam and back, and they're in there with, they're having fun with the cherries, and we were the cherries. So we get done, go back to the barracks, and they had gone to happy time. And this one, he was a staff sergeant, came back shit-faced, totally shit-faced. But a couple of our guys had brought back a couple of those dead snakes. And this is, swear to God, true story. They went into his room, pulled the blanket back and the sheet, put the snake under the the covers, okay, and then got the hell out of there. Well, the snake was dead, but this guy came back, lit to the gills, went into his cubicle to crawl into bed and sleep it off. And he got in there, and all of a sudden, we heard this scream. And he jumped up, and he was falling around. He was damn drunk. But he jumped up, and he grabbed his snake, and he threw it out into the hallway. Oh, my God. And then he wanted to find out who did that. Who did that? Who did it? Of course, nobody talked. Nobody was going to rat. But, oh, my God, that was fun.
Oh, my God.
Man, oh, man. Crazy.
Well, I got to finish up with an alligator story.
All right.
So
You'll
I'm
lead us
on
into
Paris.
commercial break.
All right, I'm on Paris Island. We're outside being punished by the drill instructor. And as you know, Paris Island is surrounded by swamp. And there's swamp. What do you have? Alligators. So as we're out there PTing, here comes an alligator coming out of the swamp area, because the swamp is right near the barracks and stuff. And there comes one right out. And we're all getting scared. We all don't know what to do. And the drill instructor is threatening to feed one of us to the alligator. And we're just going as fast as we can, as hard as we can, so he will finish punishing us. So God forbid that alligator doesn't bite us and stuff. But these guys don't care. They're telling you, say, yeah, let the alligator eat. Don't you bother that alligator. Let him eat. And we're like, dude, I don't want to become an alligator's lunch, kind of a deal. But yeah, they threatened to.
How big was the gator, Chris?
I can only tell you that its mouth wasn't really that big. I don't think it was a big one, but it was enough to frighten my ass. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, I had
it could have been a baby, and I'm still scared of the bejesus out of me.
Well, they'll bite the shit out of you. I had a juvenile alligator eat my pet duck right in front of me when we lived down in Jacksonville, Florida, which was nothing but swamp. And I was terrified. I hated that place. And this guy, the people who owned our property, their son just got home from Vietnam. And he heard me screaming and crying. He comes running out with his rifle at 22, and he shot the shit out of that gator, killed it. But it didn't save my duck. That thing rolled and killed my duck. It was terrible. I hate alligators. I really do. But I love eating them. They're delicious.
I think I've never had alligator.
Alligator nuggets are delicious, dude. It's like I don't know, man. It's so much better than chicken. It really is. If you ever get to go down to New Orleans, there are 3 ways that I enjoyed having the alligator. I like it fried. I like it baked. And I liked it broiled, and it was really good.
I'll have to try it one of these days.
Oh my God, it's yummy.
I just hope it's the SOB that threatened me in Paris Island.
Yeah,
damn sons of bitches.
Sons of bitches. I'm eating you, baby.
So, hey, I do want to point this out. It's been brought up. I posted about it today. He is 92 years today. William Shatner, Captain Kirk. That's my artwork that I did of him.
Oh, wow.
Love that guy. We still got this guy, and I'm so grateful that, we have these actors that are old school, old enough to have served in World War II in Korea, still with us. And we're losing them by the dozen, and it's the thing that sucks about getting older. Is like going, oh wow, I remember when I was a young veteran. Now I'm an old veteran. It's like, oh.
It's going to be funny if Shatner outlives George Takei. That's all I can say.
Look, I know I'm not the most religious person, but when I pray, I often pray for that. Just for the irony. For him to get the literal last word.
I've had over the years, I've had a love-hate relationship with Shatner. I like him, don't get me wrong. But, some of his acting, his overacting was just too crazy. But this guy had the balls to go to space. He got on that rocket ship and he blasted off. And to me, that said it all. That said it all right there.
Yeah, he's a gutsy dude.
You know, I'll tell you, people don't know this, but, you know, he played a role in that old movie with Spencer Tracy, Judgment at Nuremberg. He was in that movie, and he did a great job in that movie. I didn't really like him in T.J. Hooker. I thought that was kind of a little goofy. You know, I mean...
I never watched that show.
You're not missing anything. How's that?
I love that show.
T.J. Hooker? Yeah. You know why you probably watched it? Because you like the blonde, right? Come on. Admit it, Martin. You like the blonde that was there?
Yeah, she was fine. But, man, that was kid there. And he was busting up criminals. No
cops act like that. No, I have never once in my 25 years ever heard anybody talk that way. It's a TV show. Oh, I mean, it's entertaining and stuff. I like to watch the whatever. I can't remember what her name was. She was a cutie, but other than him, yeah, and stuff. I mean, the last time I jumped over a fence to chase a criminal, I tore my left hip out. So I was rolling on the ground, going, "Oh my God." You know, what now? What do I do? My partner lost his shoe, so he's hobbling around trying to catch this guy. And we had to throw the dog over the fence. Okay, the canine guy threw the dog over the fence, and the guy got hit with the dog and just tore his shirt off. So now the dog is wrestling with an empty shirt. This robber is running away. I'm waiting for an ambulance to come get me because I'm like, holy crap, what the hell did I do? You know, I thought I was going to pull one of those T.J. Hooker moves. Guy goes over a metal fence and watch me. Here I go. Yeah, all of a sudden you hear, oh, my God. I'm laying in the mud going, somebody call 911, please.
And with that, Chanel, take us out.
Let's go. Hi, guys. This is Gary from Pop Culture Minefield here on KGRA, and we're leaving for our first break. I hope we survive.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
Behind every folded flag is a family. When American lives are lost in defense of our freedom, TAPS is there to help the friends and families of those who have served and died. TAPS, the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors. We provide help, hope, and healing every day. Visit us online at TAPS.org or call 1-800-959-TAPS.
Are you looking to go on a faraway journey that is magical and mysterious, reaping on mystical legends? If so, then Mysterious Adventure Tours is perfect for you. Imagine a voyage to explore ancient mysteries of Ireland, haunted majesties of Scotland, or their chilling Birth of the Vampires in Romania. These small, esoteric getaways are limited and do fill fast. So, go to MysteriousAdventureTours.com and book your trip soon.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected, only at kgradb.com.
Oh, wow, we survived. Welcome back from the commercial break. Now for some more pop culture minefield on KGRA. Now, one of the things I was going to suggest, Don, is that you bring back your version of UFO Magazine, because I know you guys sold it. But this time you give it a more proper name, and this is the one I suggest.
Mother sons of bitches. Oh my God.
It'll be a great magazine. It'll be online only.
Well, if you got to be known for something, I guess there are many worse things than "dem sons of bitches."
Sons of bitches. I think it's a great catchphrase, man. I wish I had a catchphrase. But you got one. Them sons of bitches. I love that. Let's see. Who do we got now? Das Wolfen is here, John. And that's it that's joined us so far. But we got some great comments going on. Real Wade Nation Gaming is here, our good friend. And of course, Brian is here. Now, Brian is a veteran. He should join us if he's available. Are you available, Brian? You can join us. Brian. Hey, Brian. You want to join us, Brian? But let's see. Any other good comments? I'm promoting TAPS. Oh, outstanding. Outstanding. Now, ACVAL was the one I suggested first, but my problem with ACVAL, when I went back to their website, their links aren't working right. So I don't think they're doing proper upkeep to their website. And it's a good organization that deals specifically with veterans with PTSD, combat vets. But I think TAPS is a better organization.
Well, you know, I gotta tell you, and this is a little word of caution for all you folks that are going to end up at some point or another going on a show. But right before this show, I had a brain fart. I basically was kind of hungry, so I grabbed a fistful of peanuts and I ate.
He said peanuts.
I ate a fistful of peanuts, and by God, they're stuck all over my teeth.
Oh my God, yeah, I've had that happen.
Eat peanuts before you do a show.
Sucking on teeth, trying to get it loose. Oh, good. Dallas Wolfen's off his physical restrictions. That's good. Did Brian say whether he can join? I'm off physical. I'm looking for Brian's comment because I was hoping he responded to me if he can join us or not. No, Don definitely said. I know he said penis. I said penis. I said no peanuts. I said peanuts. Grabbing fistfuls. Them sons of bitches.
Them sons of bitches.
But let's get into the Easter offensive. No, his catchphrase is "There's Courtney with the." Yeah, that's not my catchphrase. No, Courtney. Not yet. Keep pushing that button now. It'll become my catchphrase. You sure it wasn't a senior moment? Don, that was a shot at you.
Brian is answering you.
This is not a Boy Scout salute.
Okay, I'm going to send him the link so he can join us before we end. So, are there any videos that you think would be good to go along with this that we could show to talk about the Easter offensive?
Oh God, I wouldn't have a clue. I don't know.
I'll look up, see if we got anything.
I'm sure there are. I'm sure there are.
That was in the spring of 72, wasn't it, John?
Spring of 72.
Yeah.
March 30th it started. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was a weird year. Let me tell you, let me put a little historical retrospective on it. war was at that point, and we're talking early 72, it was still going on. Okay. Richard Nixon was the president. He was elected on the promise that he was going to try to stop the war. Now, if you weren't around then, or if you were, it was the country, the United States was in a mess. The real anti-war protest really began back in 65. Now, I lived through all that time. I can remember in 64 when the presidential election, now this was just a year after JFK was assassinated. President Kennedy was murdered. Lyndon Baines Johnson had been his vice president. He was now president. He was running for re-election, and he was running against Senator Barry Goldwater from Arizona. Now, Goldwater at that time was considered extremely conservative. He was. And incidentally, speaking about Barry Goldwater, there's some very interesting UFO connections with Senator Goldwater that I'm not going to go into now. But Barry Goldwater was an Air Force Reserve general. He was a general officer, okay? And but he was running for president, and he basically, his shtick was, look, we are now in a burgeoning war. We have American troops over there in Southeast Asia. Now, at the time, hell, nobody even knew where Vietnam was, all right? Vietnam was just one of those places you might hear it mentioned occasionally. Used to be French Indochina. The French, we put the French back in there after the end of World War II. It had been a French colony. The Japanese came in. The French were already defeated by the Nazis, by the Germans. So they basically turned it over to the Japanese. And then a guerrilla war began with Vietnamese nationalists fighting the Japanese, who were, incidentally, most of the Vietnamese insurgency were communists. Ho Chi Minh was leading the fight. He was a communist revolutionary. He went back to, the beginning of the 20th century. He had lived in France for a while, Ho Chi Minh. I don't know if a lot of people are aware of that, but he was a communist then. And the French got booted out, and Ho Chi Minh basically wanted his country back. Now, at the end of World War II, they approached the American government asking the Americans not to help the French go back in there, but they did. So a guerrilla war began with the French. Now, the United States basically supplied the French, gave them arms, weapons, aircraft, but the North Vietnamese kicked the hell out of them anyway. And a demarcation line was drawn around the 18th parallel, okay, which separated North and South Vietnam. South Vietnam became the Republic of South Vietnam, and they were, quite frankly, a mess. Well, Eisenhower, who was then the American president, ended up sending military advisors to Vietnam to help train the South Vietnamese army. Now, during that period of time in the early 60s, this guerrilla war was beginning again. And by 64, 65, Johnson upped the ante we already had special forces there. In 64, the North Vietnamese and the Viet Cong launched a series of raids on American air bases, which blew up a bunch of American aircraft, and some guys were killed. Well, when that happened, Johnson ended up sending in the United States Marine Corps, ostensibly, initially, simply to guard the air bases. But look, the Marines have never been known for static positions, so they began patrolling. And before you know it, we had combat troops out there trading gunshots with the VC and occasionally the NVA. Well, by the time Nixon was elected to office, 68, took office in 69, he vowed to basically withdraw American troops from the war. So by 72, now I'm already over there. I went over there the last time in 71. I was reassigned to Vietnam from Okinawa. I got over there, and we had where I ended up being stationed, which was right outside of the A Shah Valley at a place called Phu Bai. We had the 101st Airborne there and the Marines. That was called I Corps. That was the northern part of South Vietnam. Well, before I knew it, I was reassigned up to Quang Tri, which was pretty far up north, and then I ended up on the demilitarized zone. Now, we would occasionally get shelled on the DMZ. I could literally get on top of my bunker, look north, and could see a North Vietnamese army camp several miles in the distance. We literally could see them raise their flag, okay? But nobody really thought much about it. They should have been aware because the North Vietnamese had been moving troops and armor down toward the border. And to our west, okay, North Vietnamese were running supplies and troops down what was then called the Ho Chi Minh Trail, which went through Laos and Cambodia. But nobody really was paying attention. Some Air Force general had just gotten his tit in a ringer because he had been authorizing unauthorized bombing strikes on the North Vietnamese, okay, where they were building up. But he hadn't had government sanction to do that. He was just doing it on his own. Well, they ended up frying his butt. But then suddenly on the 30th of March, we started getting shelled. And I mean, it was, if you know anything about the military, if you know anything about Russian doctrine, because the North Vietnamese were basically following Russian doctrine, military doctrine, steel rain. They smoked us good. Now, the team I was in a 9-man American team. That was it, okay? The other guys around us were South Vietnamese. Now, what the Vietnamese had been doing, the South Vietnamese had been doing, was rotating troops up and then off the line. We had, at the time, a division called the 3rd ARVN Division. These guys were basically an ad hoc division that had been thrown together. Previously, we had the 1st ARVN Division. They were pretty good troops. These guys weren't. And we were conducting, the Americans, we were conducting intelligence operations against, of course, the North Vietnamese. And even today, all these years later, I can't talk about everything that we were doing, but it was classified top secret, and we had a lot of top secret equipment there that we could not allow the communists to get their hands on. I was an NCO. I was responsible for the security of the bunker. And that meant that anybody not authorized, an American authorized troop, if they approached the bunker, I could shoot them. Okay? That's how delicate it was. Well, when they started hitting us with the armor, well, first the artillery, then the troops were coming across the border, and then armor was coming down. I basically had set up an M60 position in the doorway of the bunker to basically keep us secure while the guys inside were destroying everything. We had called for an E&E. We had called for an evac chopper to come up and get us. And let me tell you what, it was chaos beyond chaos. You couldn't imagine. Well, finally, we got a radio call that the chopper was coming in, and they had flown it up from Quang Tri because across from our base in Quang Tri, there was an aviation detachment. And I don't know what the hell they had been doing before, but we grabbed our rifles and made a beeline for the fence. We had to blow a hole in it and get out to the chopper. Now, when we split, we had several guys get banged up. Nobody got killed. We had several guys get banged up. And we got on board the chopper, 9 of us, okay? Now, that was an overload. And as they were trying to take off, Vietnamese were jumping onto the damn runners and stuff, trying to get on board the chopper too. And they were pulling us down. We had to basically butt stroke their asses off that bird so we could get out of there. And of course, North Vietnamese saw that as a perfect opportunity to shoot up another American helicopter. But somehow we made it. Well, we got down to Phu Bai that night. Now, the whole damn country by then had blown up. That night, we got down there. Somebody found a case of whiskey. And I'm telling you what, we got lit to the gills. A couple of the guys tried to steal a Jeep. I don't know what the hell they were going to do with that Jeep. I was with them, but I was so damn drunk, I didn't know the difference. And but we got caught. But the guy that caught us owned the Jeep, had the Jeep. He was a major, had been a Korean War vet, and he cut us a huss and let us go sleep it off. But the next morning, for some damn reason, I felt that I had to get back up to Quang Tri. And I found out that they had been calling for a case of incendiary grenades. They needed it for their equipment if the NVA got that far south, and they were coming. So I got assigned this case of grenades, went out, got on board a chopper that I noticed there was something weird about that helicopter, because normally in Vietnam, Hueys were armed with M60 machine guns, okay? Now, if you are not familiar with the military ordnance, that was a 30 caliber machine gun, 7.62. But they had removed the M60s and they put 2, one out each door, Ma Deuce 50 caliber machine guns. Now, I don't know if you know what the hell that meant, but that 50 caliber gun is a beast, all right? And later, when we took off and they test fired those guns, those damn guns damn near knocked us out of the air. With the recoil was so bad. But they flew me up to Quang Tri, came in, hovered off the pad, the landing pad, about 3 feet, and I jumped in with that case of grenades, got them over to our bunker. It was another bunker like the one that had been up on the DMZ. We were running intelligence operations out of there, primarily at the time for the 5th Mech, which had been stationed up there. Now they had been pulled out too. So the 5th Mech, the 101st, the Marine Corps, all those guys by now had been removed from the area. They were on their way back to the States, or had already left and were back in the States. So that meant that all that was up there now were a few scattered outposts like ours and the South Vietnamese. Now, we had a section of what were called rough puffs there. They were like a militia, okay, like the National Guard, regional forces. But these guys were at best not nearly as well trained as the typical ARVN soldier, Army of South Vietnam. And they had all deserted except one kid, all right? One kid stayed there. I ended up with him that night. This was the night of the 1st of April, April Fool's Day. The next day, incidentally, was Easter Sunday, April the 2nd. So that South Vietnamese kid, and he could barely speak any English. I could speak a little Vietnamese, but we were out checking the wire around the camp, okay? Now, I'll never forget, this guy was armed with an M1 carbine, World War II carbine. And off his belt, his utility belt, he had a white phosphorus grenade. I don't know why that sticks in my head, but this is what he had on. So we're out checking the bunkers, and right across from us, north of the camp, was an old French colonial building that had been turned into an orphanage for Vietnamese kids that had lost their parents. And just a week or two previously, there had been, in front of the building, they had parked an M48 Patton tank. Now that tank, I don't know what happened to that tank, but it was gone. And they had evacuated whoever was inside that building. So we're out sneaking and peeking along the fence line. And I'll never forget, this kid grabbed my arm. And he looked and he pointed at the building and he said, Trung Si, which was Vietnamese for sergeant. Beaucoup VC there. And I'm looking and I couldn't tell if, I don't know what the hell he saw, but I couldn't tell if there was something there or not. Now, there probably was, and what they probably were was an RTO team, radio transmitter team, that had come down to direct and make their artillery fire more accurate, because they started to hit us. And they were hitting us with 130 millimeter artillery rounds, which were a Russian gun, okay? And they would come in a flurry, and maybe 10, 12, 15 rounds all at once, and blew the shit out of that base. And we would hear them screaming in, hit the dirt, get in a ditch or whatever was available there, because when a round hits, it explodes up and out. If you're down low enough, you're okay. But it was bouncing us around. So I got into one of the bunkers, got on a landline. They were hooked up by landlines, got back to the TOC and told them, I think we have company over in the orphanage. Now, I volunteered to take a squad over there to check it out, but they denied me. They refused it. So then they sent out this second lieutenant, and he was brand spanking new cherry, okay, that had been there maybe a month, 2 months. And he came out there, and I looked at him and I said, Lieutenant, I said, we don't have any frags out here. We need some frags or something. And then he told me, well, we don't have any. Now, frag is basically a hand grenade, okay? And I'm thinking, oh, cool. He doesn't have any damn hand grenades. So I said, what the hell are we supposed to do if they hit the wire? So he left, went back to the talk, and maybe a half an hour, 45 minutes later, he came back out, lugging this M16 rifle with what looked like a stovetop thing underneath the barrel. Now, I hadn't seen one of these yet because we had grenade launchers, M79s, which would shoot a 40 millimeter grenade out to maybe even 300 meters. And I was a pretty good shot with it. But he came out, at the time I had my M16, he handed me this rifle and he said, this is a grenade launcher. And I said, well, how the hell do you use it? I had never seen it. And at the time they were calling it the XM 203. Now, XM meant experimental. They were just starting to deploy these things, but I had never fired one. So he showed me how the thing opened up. You put the grenade in there, close it back up, and then it had a separate trigger that could shoot the damn thing. And I'm thinking, oh boy, I don't even know if I could hit anything with this. But that's what I ended up. So we patrolled all night long. Well, that morning, I had gone back to our bunker and had crawled in there, put the rifle down. As a matter of fact, I gave it to somebody else because I picked up my grease gun. I had a 45 caliber submachine gun. And I figured, well, if these guys were there and if they hit the camp, I wanted something that was going to kick their ass. And let me tell you what, that 45 caliber submachine gun was just the ticket for that. Well, I grabbed a sea ration and I hadn't eaten for a day or so. I scarfed that down and then I crawled off into the bunker and took a nap for a couple hours. And that morning they were shelling us off and on all night long. Well, I guess it was about 8:30, 9 o'clock a.m. when suddenly I'm in the bunker. It was real hot, humid, crappy weather. And I had stripped off my flak vest, which was no damn good for bullets, but it was okay, fairly okay for shrapnel, if they were lobbing in mortar rounds or whatever. So I had stripped that off, and I was basically taking a break, having a smoke, when I heard a machine gun go off, and then some rifle shots. So basically, I grabbed my grease gun. I had a 45 on me, strapped on me, and I went charging out the door of the bunker to see what the hell was going on. And just as I got outside the bunker, I was maybe 25 feet away from the doorway, I heard a round screaming in. One of those, I guess it was a 130. And I basically started to dive down to the ground when suddenly something hit me in the chest like a ball bat. And then that round went off. And the next thing I knew, I'm laying face down in the dirt, wondering what the hell just happened. And boy, I'll tell you, I didn't hurt yet, but I knew it was coming. And I looked up and I saw two sappers in the wire. One of them had an SKS carbine. And I knew that that was the guy that shot me. Okay. And on that carbine, they had a permanently affixed triangle bayonet, kind of like it was shaped almost like a Civil War bayonet. And it would fold under the barrel, or you could extend it and it would lock into place. And that's how he had the thing. And I just knew that this guy was coming in to finish the job. And I'm laying there and I'm groping around. My left arm's not working, but I'm groping around for my grease gun. I couldn't find it. And then I remembered I had a 45. So I reached down and I pulled that out, and it was already locked and cocked. Okay. Ready to shoot. All I had to do was just remove the safety. And I'm looking at these two guys working their way through the wire. And I opened up and fired a whole clip at them. And they both dropped. Now, did I get them? I think I did. I'm not sure. But at the time, I'll tell you, I didn't want to get up and look, and I couldn't get up and look. But somebody in the bunker heard the shooting. He came running out, saw me, grabbed me, pulled me back in, and they called for a medic. And I heard the medic, after he examined me, said, "Hey, we've got a priority case here. We got to get him out of here." And believe me, I totally agreed with that guy. I wanted to get the hell out of there. But the next thing I remember, I had lost a lot of blood. So the next thing I remember, I was drifting in and out. A chopper came in. They threw me on a stretcher, carried me out to the chopper. Just as it started taking off, it got hit. And it went down hard. They had to bring in another chopper. This is what I remember. And this second chopper that came in had a GI on board with a donut dolly. Now, do you know what a donut dolly is? Well, they were Red Cross volunteer chicks from the States that came over to raise morale. Okay. They were in no way affiliated with the military, but,
or shall we say raise something?
Well, yeah, some of them were accused of that. Now, I have no direct knowledge of that, but I heard stories, but I never denigrated any of the girls. You know, it took a certain amount of courage to go over there anyway. But as I am loaded on board that chopper, one of the guys stuck an unlit smoke in my mouth, a cigarette, and then he took off before he lit it. So I'm laying there on the floor with this cigarette. I desperately wanted to smoke that damn thing. I didn't have anything to light it with, and I'm trying to get this chick's attention to see if she had a match. And the guy that she was with, I guess, was her escort. And he ignored me. She ignored me. I guess I was more real than she was prepared to acknowledge. And they took off for Fubai. Well, we fly down to Fubai. They unload me. They take me into the 85th evac. And I'm laying in there, and by now I'm in agony. Nobody gave me a shot of morphine, nothing. And I'm laying there just moaning and groaning. And these two officers came in. Honest to God, these two guys looked at me. The one, I think, was a light colonel. The other one might have been a captain or a major. And they were there to debrief me. Okay. They wanted to know what happened. So I gave them the short version, the crypt version. I said, look, I said, I was the NCOIC, the reactionary platoon. I went outside to see what the ruckus was when I heard this shooting. This guy shot me. Then I got blown up. I shot the guy back, and that's it. but they wanted details. I shit you not. This guy said, well, what was the incoming round? And I said, hell, sir, I don't have an effing clue. It could have been a piece of a fucking nuke for all I know.
Yeah.
When he heard that, he got all huffy and they stormed off. But honest to God, I mean, you know, the stupidity of something like that. How the hell was I to know what the hell nailed me? But oh yeah. But in the meantime, coming down over the border were Russian tanks, big tanks, T-54, 55 tanks.
Right.
Okay. And we had nothing that would put a dent in them. Nothing. All the GIs, for the most part, were gone. The Air Force hadn't been flying. I guess they were flying somewhere else, dropping ordnance. We had laws. Now, I'm talking about now at Quangtree. We had law rockets there. But the thing about a law rocket, you had to have, if you had them, they were a self-contained rocket with electrical wiring in it and a battery. And you had to use them
Or lose
them.
Yep.
These things have been sitting around in the heat and the humidity. The circuits got corroded, and most of them wouldn't fire. And that was a 3.5-inch rocket, about the only thing that could have put a dent in those Russian tanks, providing you hit them on the ass end or the side. If you hit them on the front, the armor wasn't any good. It wouldn't penetrate. But even with the laws, they weren't working. So the only thing that would stop them, they ended up mounting wire-guided missiles on choppers. That was the one thing that eventually did stop them. But we were caught flat-footed, and they were rampaging through. And let me tell you what, until Nixon, and I got to give him credit for this, Nixon unleashed the B-52s, and they began an operation called Linebacker. And those B-52s, each bird could carry the equivalent of 30 tons of high explosives. 30 tons, okay? And they would pick a grid coordinate out. There would be a flight of 3 52s. They would drop all their ordnance on that grid coordinate. And buddy, that was the end of that, all right? They knocked the hell out of the NVA and ended up driving them back up over the border. But at one point, they got as far as Way City. Okay, now this is several years after the Marines were at Way. The big battle of Way in 68, Tet of 68. This is 72. They got as far south as Way City, the ones that were coming down from the north, but they also invaded Vietnam from Laos and from Cambodia. So we had a hell of a mess there. But Nixon, who was a piece of shit when it came to domestic policy, but when it came to foreign policy, everybody knew you didn't want to screw around with Tricky Dick, and he proved that. So I don't know, Gary, you got any questions or anything you want to?
Man, I've just been engaged just listening to you. And I did want to point out that, like, because Nixon, I don't know if he got angry or what, but after that shit, he started sending the intruders and the B-52s in to bomb North Vietnam. We had left them alone.
Don't forget, he mined Haiphong Harbor.
Haiphong Harbor, that's right.
That's where the Dinks were getting all their equipment. Russian cargo vessels coming in there, offloading all kinds of stuff, and the Chinese. Okay, now the Chinese connection is kind of quirky. And the reason I say that, the Chinese and the Vietnamese have hated, loathed, and despised each other for 2,000 years. All right. They've hated each other. And of course, when it came to communist ideology, that crossed all boundaries because the communist Chinese, the communist Vietnamese, the communist Russians, they were all buddy-buddy when they were fighting the U.S. But as a little-known fact, you may not even recall this, but after the war was over in 1975, when the Democratic Congress stabbed South Vietnam and every GI that ever went over there in the back and cut all funding off, contrary to the promises that Nixon had made to the South Vietnamese government, that
it was an absolute betrayal.
After we leave, if the communists come back, don't worry, we'll support you. And they didn't, okay? It was another case of American betrayal. But
it's exactly, by the way, the comparison is to what happened in Afghanistan under the current administration. What they did was the equivalent of what happened at the end of Vietnam War when we because I want to remind people, we kicked the shit out of the North Vietnamese, and it took bombing Hanoi and moving special forces. And I do want to share this, by the way. Because a lot of people don't know this, that there really was a Colonel Kurtz that went into Cambodia, Special Forces General, and he crushed the enemy. He took it to them, took the fight, and his name was Robert Rault. Here he is. He is the real life Special Forces officer who went in and fought, took his guys up there along with locals. He would grab locals, just like they show in the film, but he wasn't crazy. This guy was a hero. He went in there and fought them guerrilla style. He's like, you want to fight? He's like, you think you're doing guerrilla shit in Vietnam with, the Viet Cong and all that stuff? We're going to show you how it's really done. Americans learned from the American Indians how to do guerrilla warfare. And he took guerrilla tactics into Cambodia and just slaughtered the shit out of them. And this is the guy right here, Robert Bradley Rault, Special Forces General. This guy, West Point graduate, and really, in many ways, helped change things. And I know Francis Ford Coppola was trying to adapt Heart of Darkness. And so what he did is he took what this gentleman did and he turned him into a guy who is broken contact with the U.S. military and has gone rogue. And so with extreme prejudice, they send an operative in to kill him, to remove his command. But that didn't really happen. What did happen was this guy helped steer the direction of the Vietnam War to where we were winning. And because we won every battle. We really did. We won every battle. When it came to straight across the board conflict, we kicked the shit out of them. But the problem was
we lost the war in the Congress of the United States.
That's it. We surrendered to the North Vietnamese. It was we kicked their ass so badly that we forced them to go to the Paris peace talks. And we got them to sign a treaty going, because they couldn't afford us to fight us anymore. We had destroyed the Viet Cong during the Tet, right? Isn't it? As I recall, that's when we destroyed the Viet Cong. They were useless to the NVA at that point. And the North Vietnamese and the Chinese were funding them. The Russians were funding them. And the fact was, by bombing Hanoi and cutting off their supply chain, it became a true war of attrition. We choked them, and they were losing more people, and they just weren't prepared.
In reality, the NVA used the VC as cannon fodder.
They really did. Yes, they did.
Okay. And they didn't give a shit about the Viet Cong. The Viet Cong, for the most part, were South Vietnamese communists.
Communists, yep.
They were basically militia, all right? Now, the North Vietnamese and the South Vietnamese, there was a big divide between those people, okay? They were all Vietnamese, but there was a different, it was kind of like taking somebody from New York City and comparing them to somebody in Savannah, Georgia.
Right.
You know, back in 1920. All right.
Because they'd had problems for a while. The minute the communism came into the country, they were having problems. And it's clear. But I want to emphasize again, we won the Vietnam War. We forced them to sign a treaty. Forced them. Because they couldn't fight us anymore. They couldn't afford to fight us anymore. And they gave up, signed the treaty in Paris with us. But our Congress kept us from enforcing that treaty. And thus screwing every Canadian, every New Zealander, Australian, who else fought with us? Japan to Korea, that helped in Vietnam. They were betrayed by the U.S. Congress when they defunded the war. And once they cut that, they choked the military. We had to pull everybody out. And anybody that was left was murdered or sent to camps, re-education camps. And over 2 million people were killed by the Khmer Rouge.
Don't forget what happened next. The Khmer Rouge.
Yeah, the Khmer Rouge killed over 2 million people.
2 million casualties. They murdered.
And once again, I want to point this out. How bad was the Khmer Rouge? The Chinese hated them. And they were communists. They hated them and killed.
Who stopped
the
Khmer Rouge? Who stopped them? The
China.
NVA.
Oh, I
the
thought
NVA.
it was China that did it.
North Vietnamese army
North
came in
Vietnamese said,
and
okay, we've had enough of your communist shit. We're commies and we don't like you. Brian, I can't hear you, buddy. I don't know if you're, nope. You get those pretty duck lips, but I can't hear you. Just, I'm going to start doing Sean Connery when you talk. Well, it's of course, it's really good. Well, I like this pop culture minefield. It's a beautiful show. I wish there was more penis on it, though. I really, he's gone. I love Brian. I hope he can get it working before we go. But I tell people all the time, we didn't lose the war. We surrendered. Our Congress surrendered and forced us to withdraw. And so when you see what happened in Afghanistan after making that, even though I don't like Karzai, whatever his name was.
Don't forget also Iraq. Obama,
oh, what a mess. Look, we made so many mistakes there. Bush made mistakes by allowing his armchair warrior commanders to decide to shut down the Iraqi military and fire all those soldiers. Well, where do you think they're going to go? They became the insurgency for Syria. Iranians. Syrians were in there too. Look, all that gas and stuff, the chemical warfare, the stuff that was functional, ended up in Syria. And that was naughty. That's right. That was naughty.
We only have 4 minutes left.
4 minutes, your butt.
No.
But I always tell people we won the war. We really did. The military did their job. The military did their job. It was amazing, and the betrayal at the hands of our government. Our government betrayed the South Vietnamese people. And can we hear you now?
Well, I guess it was a waste of time me giving you the winning lottery.
It's already been called.
The moment was gone. I think it was wavelength, Elgato wavelength problems.
I'm glad you could join us. It's we've only got a few minutes before we end the show.
Sorry, but I was listening to Don. I mean, it is a joy to listen to Don, so I didn't really want to interrupt him anyway.
Oh, this is. I get so caught up in his storytelling, It's just,
I know, boss. We have 2 minutes, so we better wrap up.
Yeah,
a cameo appearance.
Cameo appearance by Sean Connery. No,
yes, absolutely.
Of course, that was naughty. I want to thank Anima for being here and being the love of my life. I want to thank Penny for giving birth to Danny, and also being one of our biggest, most ardent followers. We love you, Penny. Keith, Movie Geek. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. We're going to be talking about Disney and Victoria Alonso being shit canned and everything that's going on with what was that with Mandalorian. Is it good? Is it bad? Because I don't agree with some people's assessments. Bush McFadden, thanks for being here, buddy. I know you're gone. Andy Morrow, thanks a lot, buddy. Let's see. Pope Metallicus, thank you for your service and thanks for being here, my friend. Parrothead, thank you for your service. Thank you for being here, buddy. Scott Lewis, thank you for being in the other room. The Courtney's Fellowship of Oddballs. It's always good to see you, love. We love you. Dragon Ruse, Das Wölfin was here. Hello, John. He's off his diet thing now, so or exercise. He's able to do exercise now. Again, it's Shatner's birthday. Happy birthday, Captain Kirk. We love you. The 70s rock fan, of course, who's also right here with us. Real Wade Nation Gaming, File 13. And anybody else drop in at the last minute? Nope, that's it.
Nope.
That's it. I guess we're done. We love you guys. See you tomorrow. Thanks, Brian.